Today we are going to talk about when do you cut the cord and go full time as a voice actor. All right, let's get into it. My name is Anthony. This show is called The VO's Journey, and we're all about helping the new and upcoming voiceover artists grow their business, sidestep all the crazy things that this guy seems to step on. It's good to see you guys. Today's topic is I think really important because you need to know when you can go full time. Let's face it, that's what most of us are doing this for, is to leave our job and to go full time in voiceover. So I started back in 2017 doing voiceover my birthday in April. And when I started, literally what I wanted to try to do is become an audiobook narrator. And I never thought I would get to a point when I first started where I would be able to leave my job. My hope was honestly to be able to get back into acting some way, right? And just to fulfill that need that I had to perform. And audiobooks, kind of popped up out of nowhere. I watched a YouTube video one day on how you could be an audiobook narrator, and I thought, wow, this is super exciting. I'm going to try it. So, I went ahead and built a hobo fort, which was PVC pipes and packing blankets, and I bought a $40 microphone. I went on to acx.com and I started recording. And when I got my first job, which was about a month later, I got my job probably about 3.5 weeks later, trying to audition and figuring out stuff. And then I published my first audiobook, was on Amazon about 4 weeks later, about a month later. And that first book that I did was horrible. I was horrible. And I'm not even sure if it had sold it. I don't know if it sold any copies or not. But from that moment, I realized that, if I could get one job, I could get another. So I started getting another, and I started getting another. And honestly, I didn't realize pretty much this dream of going full time as a voice actor until probably a year later. And that's when this this drive hit me. And because, as I was growing my business, it started to, I started to realize, hey, I could do this full time. I could make enough money. I see a path to make enough money in this and to leave my job. So I started down a journey and made a specific decision that said, I want to leave my job, and I started a VO's Journey podcast for the purpose of documenting that journey to go full time as a voice actor. Right. And I needed to replace my income, of course, but I realized that I also felt that I wasn't going to feel secure if I didn't make at least 3 times what I was making. Because in my mind, I thought, well, what if I lost 50% of my revenue? Could I still be able to afford to live how we're living? And I wanted that answer to be yes. And then also I wanted to think about too, what about insurance? Now, fortunately, my wife also works or was working, and she had insurance. We both had insurance together. But she had insurance as well, so we were going through her insurance, and because we both were teachers. Well, she was an administrator, but we both were teachers, and so I didn't have to worry about insurance. But that was something that I had never considered before, because I always had insurance through my employer, right? So I started looking at all of these things and realizing, I need a lot more money than I thought that I would need. And then I've tried to figure out what exactly did I need in order to survive. So I came up with a number, and then I felt like too, it couldn't be just 1 month, right? I mean, I needed to prove to myself that I could do it over months. You know what I mean? And then in 2019, I had such my voiceover business just skyrocketed. Right. It went to over 6 figures, which I had, I wasn't making, I was making like around 45,000 a year at that point. And here my income, it was, I never experienced anything like that before in my life. So, it gave me the opportunity to leave. So I ended up leaving my job in the summer of 2019 to go full time. And I've been doing it ever since. And interestingly enough, the growth of a business has continued. But, when people ask me, do I go full time? What do I need to look for? And I always say, just like I told myself back then, you've got to take a couple things in consideration, right? For me personally, my wife was working and we still had insurance. So we had things in place where, we weren't totally out of money. I mean, we still needed my income, but we weren't going to, lose everything if for some reason, things really tanked. And that's why I was like, I want to be able to lose 50-60% of my revenue and still be okay. Right. So that was something too. Taxes was another thing. I had to figure out taxes, how much that because that's, as we are self-employed, we're double taxed, right? Because most of us are single member LLCs or sole proprietors. So we're taxed the 15 and some percent for the Social Security. So we're not taxed at 7.5 when your employer is. Since we're taxed double, and we end up paying more. And you've and it's so funny because as an employee, your taxes always come out. They're taken out. I always think to myself, what if every employee, after they got their paycheck, they had to actually walk out with the cash in their hand and then hand the government money out of their check? How would they feel about the government? I would think, because you don't see it come out, right? But when you're self-employed, you have to pay it, and it's a hard check to write when you're writing 30-40% of what you make goes to the government right off the top. You know what I mean? So there's just things to consider. So what I recommend is that, through that whole big story there, is that you've got to think about how much do you want to make to feel comfortable? And also, what can you handle? What can't you handle? Meaning, I know as my business grew, part of it was too, is I couldn't handle it anymore. I mean, I couldn't handle the influx of work and a full-time job. I just couldn't handle that. I mean, there wasn't work. I couldn't grow anymore. I couldn't do anything else. They were, just butting heads, and on top of that, I was falling asleep at work. It was really getting bad at the end there. You know what I mean? I had to go because I couldn't just make it, because I was staying up all night trying to record jobs, trying to get stuff done. For that was, I had clients, and I couldn't keep up. And then it's interesting enough, when I went full time during the day, my money went up more because I was able to do orders and stuff during the day. But listen, I think that there's another thing to think about too, is that, business goes up and down. We a lot of us just went through this last July, right? Last month. It was a slow month. Sometimes business is up, sometimes it's down. And that's another thing. It's cyclical. So a lot of us are used to a paycheck every month. You have to consider that's not always how it doesn't always pan out like that in voiceover, right? Because jobs come and go, which means that you have to be, and that's something I learned, you have to specifically create that repetitive nature of a monthly bills and everything, because it's how things are billed for us is monthly. So you've got to build it in. So meaning, no matter what comes in, you know what I mean? You've got to save your X amount. You've got to make sure you're still on a budget. I mean, that's something that you have to create on your own. So I think to sum it all up, I would always give advice. If you want to go full time, you should try to make at least 3 times what you're making, so that in case you lose, half of your income, you're still going to be okay. You know what I mean? You're still going to be okay, and you're still going to be fine. You're still going to be able to pay your taxes. You're still going to be able to live. Okay. But if now there's certain circumstances where you don't have a choice, and I'm not really talking about those. When you don't have a choice, you don't have a choice, right? You do what you got to do. But I'm talking about when you do have a choice and when you do have a full-time job, when do you go full-time? That's what I looked at it as. I wanted to make sure I was making that much money, so in case I lost half of my business, you know what I mean, it wouldn't kill me. All right, I hope this helped. If you like this video, if it's intrigued you, please hit that like and subscribe button. Also, check out VO's Journey Elite Academy. One thing I honestly that I wish I had was part of a place where I could actually get support and move faster along with understanding the industry, because I had to barrel through and do so much, like make so many mistakes before I learned. So a VO's Journey Elite Academy, there's a link below to try us out. It's 50% off the first month. We help you start and grow your voiceover business. So that's what we do. And, it's, like I said, I wish I had it when I started. So thank you guys so much for watching. You have a wonderful Wednesday. I'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.